Hello and welcome back to Barrack Street Yard. In this episode we'll be constructing a line of cottages similar to what you see before you for the layout. I like to build each wall with two parts, being a substructure and then the outer structure that you see, and then I glue the two together. From there the two pieces are glued together, and this helps provide the actual model with some rigidity. Once the two main lengths have been glued together, I then add the two gable ends, followed by some interior walls. The interior walls also serve as extra bracing. Once the glue is set, a floor is added. On the floor within the walls itself, I've added bracing, and that is to locate the outer building on top of the floor itself. Also, as you can see, I've started to construct the substructure, the chimney breasts for each cottage. Next to be glued in place is the substructure for the roof. The slate card then will be glued on top of this, and that will complete the roof and add even more rigidity. Here you can see the overall look we're going for in comparison to the cottages already completed, waiting to be painted. Okay, so continuing the build on our row of terrace houses, I'm going to look at doing the actual roofing of it now. I always like to build a substructure, more for rigidity than anything else. Let me see if we split this apart. Again, even on the inside, you can see we still have our internal walls as well, and that's just added rigidity for when it actually goes onto the floor itself. So, and it also gives us a base for the rear side of the actual card to grip. We can get better coverage of glue rather than thin strips. The first thing we're going to be looking at doing is I've placed glued on the drain pipes, and the reason I did that is we can look at how much overhang we actually want. Because naturally enough, as it rains, runs down the tiles into a drain pipe. Alright, so obviously don't want them covered, don't want it too far back to one where you can see the white and it doesn't actually make sense. So we just want a little bit of overhang. Okay, next what we've done is we've taken the measurement from the pitch at the top of the roof right down to the gutter, marked it out on the back side, just as the clean cutting surface. That's how where I like to cut from the back side forward. Okay, we measured it out, and now we're just going to cut it. Of course, I had to mark it in pencil, which makes it that bit harder to see. I like to take a couple of passes just to build a groove and then cut across. Okay, so now what I've done is I've squared it up to the edge of the building and butted it up against the chimney, and then I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but marked the width of the chimney and then the depth. Okay, I'm going to come back a little bit, cut it, offer it up, see how far off. One thing I don't want to do is cut too much and then we have a gap, too big a gap. I'm going to try to get it as close as possible. As you can see now, we have one side fully complete and cut. I'm not worried about the gap in the middle because that can be covered by weathering once that piece on the right is glued in place. Just after I fix that overhang there in the center above the middle door. It is just repeat the process here for the far side and then glue in place. So with the roof now completely covered with the embossed slate card, you can start adding other details such as the ridge capping and then the capping stones on each of the tops of the chimneys. Likewise on the front, as you can see, we already have the drain pipes glued in place, and then on the far right side just along the seam another drain pipe, and as the
two rows of cottages butt together. That'll hide the seam. Moving to the back side of the house, as you can see, we've just repeated the process of the drain pipes that we had at the front, and especially the one on the far left side now, which again is going to hide that seam between the two separate cottage modules. One thing I didn't touch on, the roof capping itself at the top of the pitch, that's just made with right angled evergreen plastic scored down the middle to give it a bit more bend and flex, and then just glued in place. The same with the actual chimney cappings, they're just offcuts, so it's always a good idea to keep your scrap offcuts to be used later on. And here we have our cottages in place on the layout. This will be the main viewing angle, because obviously it is an exhibition layout, so we'll only really ever see the back sides, but we have added details to the front, and there will be more details to add. In the next episode we'll be painting, detailing and weathering the cottages, also adding interiors and interior lighting. I hope you have enjoyed this short video on the building of our cottages, and I hope to see you on the next episode.